topic. Why don't you introduce it? Welcome back to another episode of Choose to Love. Today we're going to be talking about parenting, how difficult it can be, how difficult it's been for us for the last.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh,
no, because Nehemiah just interrupted us.
no, I know, but why you sound like that?
Oh, that was just my radio voice, my introduction voice. Don't forget, you
Maybe.
can't be banging that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe move the cup on the other side. But yeah, so we just went on a date night, as I just said. We were talking about parenting the whole time, how difficult this season has been. Not difficult in the sense like it's all uh perspective, but this is like no one had ever told us about our kids going through a phase of finding out about their thoughts and just having to go through that season of life. But it's one of like my core values is parenting and being present and being a job that I take so seriously. You take so seriously as well. And Uncle Phil says it best, and he says in an episode, he says it's a job in which I cannot afford to fail.
Mm.
Shout out to Uncle Phil, rest in peace. And yeah, so there's the verse in Proverbs 22:6, I think. Let me see. Yeah, 22:6. Start your children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn and depart from it. And just like right now, with the state of the way the world is, and we were talking about this, so I feel like I'm gonna sound repetitive, but it's for whoever's watching, if anyone watches. There's evil out there, and they're after our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe so, I think you're being naive and you're being misled to believe that there is no evil. But I truly believe that there is evil and that the devil is out there to try to still steal, kill, and destroy, and he's after our kids. And we have to make sure that as parents, we are the foundation that our kids are being built on, or not we. God is the foundation that they are being built on. But that starts with us first being having our foundation built on Christ, our home being built on Christ. So like it's we can't afford not to try our hardest to pick up our cross on a daily basis and walk that journey of being Christ centered, being spirit led, because we need to have that discernment when we go through this world of the evil that is out there. Like
Mm-hmm.
when we walk into a place, what is going on? Like just having this the Holy Spirit lead us and like, hey, like pay attention to them or watch out for this or pray right now. Like something there's an attack, a spiritual attack that's on you, that's on this place or that's on your kids. And so like we need to be spiritually prepared, spiritually aware for when we walk into places, for when we walk this life, not only for our own sake, but for our family, for our kids. Uh, because the devil, I 100% believe he's after our kids. He's after the next generation because he knows that when we as parents are walking this life of trying to pick up our cross daily, he's after our family.
Mm-hmm.
He's not after those families. He's not after people that are just bumming it on the couch and just living just barely living, this existence of life. He's after the ones that are truly trying to make a difference. And so with us, with if we're Christ centered, we have to be mindful of that. We have to really be in the word. We really have to be focused on our relationship with God so that we can be the best example, but also just the most spirit led for our family, for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why this example came into my mind, but I think
Share it.
even like I am even like in movies or shows, you know how like I feel like this would be in like a horror movie or a show, but where they will take the kids. It's like, let's say it's a school or some sort of organization, and they're like training them to be how they want them to be without the parents' knowledge.
Mm,
And I feel like even in movies, right? That message is there. And I'm not saying school specifically, I'm saying the world in general can do that. If the world can teach your kid about different things, why can't you teach them your values, what you believe? Why is it wrong to teach them what you believe in the path that you want to go, the path as a family as
yeah.
you want to go? Why is that called um like a dictatorship, or why is that called a cult when the world is doing the same thing? They're showing other ideas. So why are you not allowed? Not that you're not allowed, but why are you so criticized?
Yeah, they're being hypocritical.
Why are you so criticized about, because you want to talk about God and your family? You want your kids to believe in Jesus, and you want them to believe in the power that his blood has, and you want them to believe that they're protected, that they can call in his name. But then you're like, oh, like you're too much, or so it's funny how that works.
It's funny, but it's not ironic. Like that is the way the world works. Like movies definitely have a way of depicting the future, and they show us in plain sight
Mhm.
of like this is what we do.
Mhm.
This is how we control.
Yeah.
Okay, like if we go all the way back to when just the man worked and the woman was predominantly like women in general predominantly just to stay at home,
Mhm.
to take care of the family, to take care of the home, and the husband made enough money to be able to go out and provide for the family.
Mhm.
Eventually, it became that now the wife needed to come in and work
Mhm.
as well to keep up with inflation and be able to keep the home steady as far
Mhm.
as finances, right? So then it became a movement of women also going to school, also getting into the workforce. But at that time, at least,
But I think women, they were educated at home. It's not that they didn't get an education, it's just that they started to get into other fields, but they still had an education.
okay, well, I'm just talking about like formal like college education.
I I think they could. I think they did.
Well,
I don't,
either way,
I'm just
at one point, I know you're defending women right now. This is not my that's not the point that I'm trying to make.
yeah.
But I'm saying like then it got to the point where at least with the secondary income they were able to at least provide for the home.
Mhm.
Now it's like man and woman, husband and wife, or however the dynamic is, work, and they can't pay for the expenses because inflation has gone up
No, isn't that
tremendously.
crazy?
So now you have a home that has two parents that is barely able to hang on, if at all,
Mhm.
stresses through the roof. So like raising the kids is secondary. And that
Mm.
is exactly how we've gotten to this point is through generations of slowly doing the detailed work of like, okay, I'm gonna make the wife go to work. Now the mom isn't home. Now they're both not able to provide fully for the family. So now they're stressed out about money. Now they're focused on how do I get more? How do I get more? How do I get more? How do I get ahead? How do I pay off debt? How do I pay off debt? How do I keep up with the Joneses? Like this world that the devil has rule over, he's done a really good job at keeping us distracted,
Mhm.
keeping us fixated on the wrong things, so that when it
Mm.
comes down to raising the kids, the mom and dad are obsolete, and like
Mm.
the family core needs to have, yes, built on a foundation, but the family has to have values.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so what are your non-negotiables? Like, I'm not willing to like you saw how when I was working at the shop in Massachusetts, I could have easily worked more hours.
Mhm.
Like money could have like I could have probably increased my income by 50% had I just worked more.
Mhm.
But that wasn't a value to me.
Mhm.
Yes, money is good and money can provide a certain lifestyle, money can buy things, money can provide opportunities. But for me, that wasn't the value. The
Yeah.
value once we started to want to have a family and wanting to grow our family, and once we had our kids, m- the value that I wasn't willing to compromise on was time with the kids.
Yeah, and I mean, we still had enough, not just enough to live our lifestyle, but enough to invest not just in financials, but to invest in vacations and
Yeah,
other things too, and even invest in other people. Um, so that's the thing is it's all about prioritizing, right? Because it doesn't mean that you have to work more. It just means that you have to work smart
yeah,
and always keep those values that you have on top
we have to.
because then you lose sight of what you really want and then it's just chasing the money and at the end of the day you look back and you're like, whoa, I just missed all of that time, like what happened? And then all of a sudden your son, your daughter, they don't want to play anymore because they're at an age where
Yeah,
they're discovering themselves or preteens and
it is.
you didn't have that bonding time, right?
It's the hardest thing though. I feel like for me, because I'm so mindful of presence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really bad at it
Yeah.
because with everything that goes on in our own lives, in our own minds,
Yeah.
there's so many things that come in where I'm like, it's hard for me to be present.
It is.
And then we look at our kids, Nehemiah's 5, and we had the two miscarriages before him, and we so desperately wanted it. And like we
Mm-hmm.
would it like to go back to that moment where it's like second miscarriage happens, and for us to be like all of a sudden like it's a movie where like all of a sudden we're sitting in front of a 5-year-old kid and we're just like so intently focused in that moment because we had just experienced a second miscarriage, right? Like, do you follow what I'm saying? Like picture you're in a movie and like that moment where we had the second miscarriage,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden like we're in a movie and time just like flashes to the future,
Mm.
and we're in that future moment with Nehemiah, a
Mm.
5-year-old. At that moment, because of what had just happened, we're so intently focused in that in the present.
Yeah.
But on a day-to-day basis, we're not thinking about what happened in the past. We're thinking
Yeah.
about all the stuff that needs to happen in the future, and
All
like
the to-do lists.
the to-do list, the want to do, the have to do, and the list that has that is being forgotten about because it just keeps piling up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so hard to be present, but it's so important because if we don't take those opportunities to have those values, to have it on our like we just were able to do a date night tonight kind of accidentally,
Mm-hmm.
but it's on the calendar. And like last night,
That's
I,
that's God for you. He's
yeah.
in the details.
But then I had the date night with Nehemiah yesterday. That's on the
Yeah.
calendar now. And so like that's I'm not willing to whatever however our life looks like going forward, I work around that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not letting I'm not putting that around my other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's priority.
That same thing is our relationship with God, right? It's
Yeah.
having that scheduled in and saying, I'm not gonna work anything around that. That's my time with God
Yeah.
and because he should be our priority too. Having a relationship should be with him should be our priority and that's a good point of like putting it on the schedule because then you that time is booked. You can't book anything on that time.
Yeah. But it's just parenting is one of the greatest joys, one of the best it's the best job, but it's the hardest job.
I mean, you're raising a human,
But
a
like
human
just having to
being
go through
that has to go into
like I
society.
had never heard anybody talk about the phase of kids discovering thoughts.
Yeah,
And
me
I
either.
with all the people that have sat in my chair and have gone through the parenting journey,
But
I
have
had
you
never heard anybody say, "Wait till your kid discovers his thoughts," because
but
I
have
cause
you asked somebody now that like you're going through that? Have you talked to somebody that has sat down on your in your chair and like have you
no,
that has kids and you asked?
no, it's too
Because
it's
I'm curious.
yeah,
I'm not gonna say you don't have to tell them like what he's saying. I'm just
yeah.
saying that.
I've talked to people because it's recently happened, right? I've talked to people about it, and
Mm-hmm.
people have mentioned that, yeah, I've never heard anyone talk about that phase before. But I haven't talked to enough people at this point that people have said, like, who have experienced the growth of kids, say like, "Oh yeah, I remember that phase."
But do those people that say I don't remember that or have never heard of that, they have kids?
Either have kids around our age or they don't have kids.
Oh, okay, so not helpful. Like,
Well, I mean,
no, I'm
but
saying
still,
because you would
I'm
want
saying they
they
haven't heard
haven't
of
heard,
it.
yeah.
So it's not just like us being like, we haven't heard about it, and everyone's like, "Really? You haven't?"
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But like,
There has to be somebody out there.
so to explain it to anybody who's listening.
Well, he's just it's like the intrusive thoughts, right? That everybody has. But it's just
Yeah.
spinny chair.
Oh
That's
no.
what happens.
Oh, what happened, Nehemiah?
um,
Over here telling Nehemiah not to spin in the
yeah,
chair. Yo,
but he
here.
doesn't do this. If he did this, we would be fine. Um, yeah, like we all have intrusive thoughts, and he's just sharing what those intrusive thoughts are. Um, so for example, I'm trying to give a example. If he sees somebody wearing a shirt and he's like, "Oof, that shirt does not look good," like his mind, but he thinks it's like mean for him to think those thoughts,
Yeah.
and so like
It's his
it's kind of
he's
like,
discovered his subconscious mind.
yeah,
And like you and I, everyone has those thoughts. Everyone thinks things that, they would never say out loud because of it. Like as we get older, we realize I can't say that. That's mean.
yeah,
I've thought
but
it.
he's like, "Oh, I don't want to think that,"
Yeah.
and
Cuz
I'm
some of
like,
those
"Yeah, but
things
it's normal."
it's normal. Some of those like but it's I think it's become so normalized to us, but it's also something that we still have to practice where it's talked about on stage at church where it's like, yes, it's normal to have thoughts.
Mhm.
We think, I forget how many thoughts we have in a day, but I think it's like 60 plus thousand thoughts a day.
Yeah.
And the majority of them are repeat from the day before.
Mm.
So we have to be able to be mindful of we we can think thoughts. That's inevitable. That we can't stop that. But what we can do is take the thoughts that we don't want captive and try to replace them with something that's good,
Mhm.
something that's from God's word, something that's positive. And sometimes that we have to practice it by actually saying it out loud.
Yeah. It
Like,
took Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna
I was
say,
just oh, go ahead.
no, I forget now.
Go ahead.
I really forgot.
I'm sorry, it's because I thought you said go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, and to quote Hector, you practicing a heart of gratitude
Mhm.
helps. No, but seriously, because that's what I've been telling him, and I say, "Okay, yeah, it's normal for us to have, like, not think something looks nice and things like that, but let's see what's good about that thing. Like, what's good about that person? What can you say about
Yeah,
that person that's nice?
that's what
And
I was gonna say.
and what's good about your day? Like, what do you like about your life? What do you enjoy doing? Instead of just focusing on those negative thoughts that are coming into your head.
Yeah, because eventually we can train our mind to immediately take something negative and turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I really don't like that shirt that dad's wearing, but let me say like, oh, I like your pants, dad, or like
Right.
so just finding a way to take a negative and turn it into a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do that enough, like actually verbalize a thought, or we take a thought and we turn it into a positive uh saying or a positive, sentence. I feel like eventually, not feel like, I know eventually our brain is going to take, like, we're training our brain.
Yeah.
Our brain is not in control of us,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Bible talks about how our heart and our minds are deceitful.
Right.
Like, just because, oh, follow your heart, follow your heart. No, 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 no. Our heart lies to us.
Mm-hmm.
Our brain lies to us. So we have to make sure that we're mindful of what those thoughts that we think are.
It's a muscle too. It's not because you have certain ways of thinking, certain ways of doing things, doesn't mean that you can't change that. Thankfully, God's creation is so perfect that even that can be completely changed
Yeah.
around just by doing practices in your daily life that can help you. in that journey of changing your thoughts, changing how you feel about yourself, changing how you communicate to other people. It's like that powerful, but it is a practice. It is uh, being consistent. And even when you fail in a day, continue.
Yeah. It's
Don't give up
consistency.
because
What we
you,
talked about last week.
yeah, don't give up because you
Watch last week if you didn't catch it.
if you fell down, just get back up.
Yeah.
You don't have to go back to the beginning. You don't have to quit. Just keep trying. Eventually things do change.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe that parents, our job is to make sure, like I read Proverbs 22:6, raise our kids in the ways of the Lord, and as they grow old, they will not depart from it. We have to make our we have to make our kids not first, but we have to make them a priority in our lives.
Mm,
We have to make sure that that's a job that, again, like Uncle Phil said, we can't fail. And we can't also allow government, schools, policies to raise our kids. Like we have to take pride in the home itself. Like home ownership. I'm not talking about home ownership. I'm talking about the home. Wherever home is, an apartment, your a basement that you have to rent out for a little bit. If it's an actual house, great. But we have to take pride that that home that has values.
mm-hmm,
Like what is a value? Time together,
mm-hmm,
presence together, prioritizing each other, making sure that the kids feel seen, heard, appreciated. Like this is equally as much their house as it is ours.
mm-hmm.
Yes, we are the parents. This is like our home, but this is their house. This is their
Yeah,
home too.
yeah.
This is where they can feel safe. Like we tell the kids every night and we pray over them. This is the palace of peace. That's not by coincidence. That's on purpose to let them know like this place is a place where you can come, be yourself, be seen by mom and dad, be heard by mom and dad. You don't have to be any different. You can be 100% yourself. You can be vulnerable. You can be transparent. You can be appreciated for who you are, and you can you know let loose.
Mm-hmm.
This is like and that the family nucleus, the family core, needs to be refocused in America, in the world, right? Because
Say in the world.
yeah,
It's
in the
not
world.
just America. I know that's like
It's where
where we
we are,
live.
yeah, in America, right?
And the thing is, like, relationships aren't convenient, right? We always talk about that. They're not convenient. You have to put effort. You have to do, sometimes you don't feel like doing something, but you have to. Like,
Yeah,
if you want to maintain a friendship, you want to maintain a relationship with your daughter, your son, you want to maintain a relationship with your spouse, it
takes
takes
effort,
effort, it takes dedication, it takes being thoughtful, it takes doing something like to show that person how that you care for them.
being
It
proactive.
whether that's a text, that's a call, that's a hey, can I help you with this?
Yeah,
So those things, just uh, trying to not think of just yourself and how tired you are, because we're all tired, but making sure that you're adding in those moments in your day where you are thinking about each other.
yeah, and we have to remember too, like our kids didn't ask to be here.
Exactly. Yeah.
We so desperately wanted it,
Yeah.
right? And so like now that we have it, we have to remember how
Have
desperately
it.
we want it. Now that we have it,
It.
them, we have to remember how desperately we once wanted it. And the saying that sticks with me, like every time I come home, I have to like repeat to myself because when I get home, like all of a sudden I'm just like tired, right? Like you get home and like your body just is like, all right, you can rest now. But it's not fair to come home and just rest
Mm-hmm.
because our kids need our energy. They need uh they want to play.
Yeah.
And so like the best saying that I always repeat in my head, I forget where I heard it, and it might have been a book I read, but it was live your child's childhood with them.
Mm-hmm.
So like be a kid with them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need you to be a grown up all the time around them.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have plenty of opportunities to to be taught and be mentored, but you're not gonna have forever to play with them. You're not gonna have forever to play make believe, to
Yeah.
play silly games that if someone saw you playing that game with another adult, they'd be like, "What in the grown ass hell are you two doing?"
Mhm.
But like we have to for our kids and for ourselves, like we have to be children at heart. That Bible actually talks about that,
Mhm.
where it's like we have to be childlike.
Mhm.
Why? Because children are innocent.
Yeah.
Children are not judgmental.
Mm.
Children are present.
Yeah.
Children are the best example at being present.
Mhm.
And so we have to be not only like them for their benefit, but we actually have to be like them for our benefit too.
Mhm. I think another thing as parents that we really have to be mindful of not doing is being critical of our kids around other parents and how hard, not just how hard, but just being critical about kids, right? Around I know that once you get together with a parent, you can say, "Oh, kids this, kids that."
Yeah. As Nehemiah walks into the frame.
¿Qué fue? ¿Qué se ha vuelto a ver, men? ¿Qué se ha vuelto a ver, men?
Who?
How did you scratch it?
Ziggy?
Are you
Oh,
okay?
you scratched it.
Are you okay? Are you putting that? Creo que está poniendo. It hurts. Fix it, fix what? Como? Deixa eu ver. Para de pôr. Oh, não pode fazer isso. Tem que ser gentle. Huh? What, that? Sure. Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
It's fine. It helps.
I mean, that's a prime example. Like we have
But you know what I'm saying, though?
we have
What?
an agenda as parents. We have this idea of what it is we have to do. But when things like this happen where kids come into the picture and they
No, just
interrupt
put it
your
on. Like,
daily life,
whatever.
this even though I'm talking to you now,
Okay,
this
okay,
doesn't take
grab a
precedence.
bowl.
This is more important. Parenting is the part that's more important.
But you know what I mean? I think a lot of times we can be very negative towards parenthood.
How like with how difficult it is.
Yeah. How difficult. Not that
I
you
think it's
can't,
also because
not
like
that
when we
you
get
can,
around other parents, we're just like, oh, are you guys feeling this too?
yeah. But I don't know.
Let me
I
just
think,
pause it and
um, I know that like you need that time, right? To talk, to share frustrations and things like that. But you just have to be mindful of how you're speaking about your kids. Right.
yeah,
And keep saying like, "Oh, he doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. He doesn't eat this. He never eats. He never listens." You're like saying those things about your child. And
yeah,
not that you can't be going through something that is frustrating that they're not eating, but like watch how you say it. Say, we're struggling with this. Like, do you have ideas if you're talking to somebody about it?
yeah,
But be mindful of how you're communicating those frustrations. Not that you can't communicate the frustrations. Obviously, live how you want to live, but be mindful of what the words you're using to describe what you're going through with your children.
yeah. I mean, where the Bible talks about how the tongue literally has the power of life and death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're just venting, that has the ability to have weight behind what it is we're saying. So
Yeah,
if
because
we're
I mean,
continuously saying like our kid is this, and he's this and he's this, and remember we have to also remember like we're in this spiritual world of good and evil, and like what we were talking about earlier today, like the devil's not in our thoughts, but if we're just venting or we think we're just venting and like
oh yeah.
gossiping or just just continuously saying like, oh, my kid doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, guess who's listening? The
But
devil.
you,
He's and
yeah.
he's hearing what it is we're saying. He's like, "Ooh, that's a seed. Let me.
Mm-hmm.
How can I twist that and manipulate that even more
But
and turn that into
even
a ADHD situation or
yeah,
this situation, right?
but even for yourself, like you even start to believe that and you don't even see the progress or you don't even help your child progress and whatever it is that they may be struggling with, and because you're believing that, and who knows, your child might even hear you say those things if you're not mindful of how you're if you're saying like in front of them, um
And they're always listening.
they're gonna believe that for themselves too. I've
I'm
seen many examples of that.
I'm
And so that's another piece. It's like not only being mindful of how you talk about your kids, but also if you're gonna say something, especially when they're present,
mm,
be very careful
yeah.
because even if you don't think they're listening.
Yeah, I remember. So this is something that we've talked about, and I practice, and I think you do too. I can't speak for you, but you can say if you do or not. But I know I do it, and I've actually had this conversation recently. I think with Dad, and it's for what you for an example for what it is you're saying is when we bring our kids around other people and they get shy,
Mm.
right? We don't just introduce them to somebody else as like, oh yeah, this is Nehemiah. He's shy.
No, I
He's
never
just
say
always
that.
shy, right? Because all of a sudden, as they grow, as they hear that, yeah, their subconscious mind is hearing it, but eventually that subconscious becomes their conscious, and then they
Mm-hmm.
start thinking, well, I guess I'm just shy, so that's why I'm this, and this, or I'm just shy, and so I'm not going to this,
Mm-hmm.
and this, and so what has happened as adolescent kid eventually grows with them into a teenagehood and then eventually adulthood, and that becomes a vice, a trap,
Yeah.
right?
I
our
mean, I
our
can speak
words
that for
literally
myself.
yeah, our words literally become a foothold for the devil to come in and say, gotcha, you
Mm-hmm.
said that, now I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna build on that, and it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
take some time, but I got nothing but time.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak on that because I feel like I grew up that way, where I was introduced as being shy, a lot of the
I think a
times,
lot,
and
I mean,
so
that's
a lot of the times, other people would speak to me, even into like teenage years. I had a really close friend that people would like ask me a question, she just answer for me.
yeah, I remember you telling me that.
So, like, and that went on for many years until actually like I completely changed my environment because I, went a different path with school, and that's when almost like I had to find my own voice because I had nobody to speak for me
Mm,
anymore in that way, because the people that I was around now, I was older, right? I was like in 6th grade, so the people who were around me didn't grow up with me being that shy girl, even though there was that part of me still. I wasn't that shy girl in that new environment because nobody knew me yet.
mm-hmm.
So then I had to find my own
Yeah.
voice. And you know what's funny? It's to the point where I went to this new school and I don't know who communicated that I didn't speak English, but people thought I didn't speak English. The first day, people were like trying to talk to me and I'm like,
They were here like
and
sign
then
language. Like,
yeah, and then eventually I'm like, I say a full sentence and they're like, you speak English? I'm like, yeah. But that's how bad it was. Cause like, I don't even know how that came about. I think it was because when my mom was registering me, cause she, um, her English maybe was, oh, her English wasn't all the way there. So I think a friend of ours was the one who helped even register me to the
mhm.
school. And so I think maybe the principal thought I didn't even speak English because I didn't talk there when I was coming in. And so maybe that's where the whole idea was. But yeah, just an example of how that can go on and on and on if you don't change that, right? If you don't
Yeah.
help your child like know that they have their own voice, their own ideas, their own thoughts.
And we have to also be mindful of the voices around our kids,
Yeah,
like TV
absolutely.
programs, literally the environment, family, or friends, church, school, whatever. Because think about it from my perspective. The voices that came in to my life early about like my learning style, my learning disability,
Mhm.
that could have ended up becoming uh, a crutch,
Grudge, yeah.
and it did for a little bit.
Mhm.
Thankfully, I was confident enough to overcome
Mhm.
what I needed to, but thankfully, because my dad didn't allow that to become a crutch, it, you know, who knows what have could have come of it if it did become. And so we have to be mindful of the voices of like, just because we drop off kids at school, just because we drop kids off at Sunday school or at a friend's house, we have to be. It is our job. It is our responsibility to make sure that the voices that our kids are hearing are affirming, are loving, and even if they're not, then we come in as parents and we know what's going on. We make
Mhm.
sure that like this place is safe for you to say like, what did these people say to you?
Mhm.
Because I want to make sure that you know that not true. That is
Mhm.
not who you are. That is not what a value of our home is. That is not the name that you represent. That is not truth.
Mhm.
So we just have to be very mindful of like not only how we parent, but the voices that come around our kids. And like again, the devil is everywhere. Okay? Is literally trying to, as Nehemiah comes in again. Nehemiah,
What is that?
just leave it. That's his headboard.
Oh, okay.
Just
Nima, you gotta go to bed. You gotta sleep. Remember, you said you were gonna stay in bed. That's not a reason to come out here, right?
no, not right
Not
now.
right now, because it takes time.
No,
No,
you cannot.
just go. Just put it next to your bed and go to sleep, okay? Okay, but just leave it.
So this is a season that we're going through is trying to put this
What?
kid to bed at 8 o'clock, and it's
No,
10 o'clock
obviously
now.
it's not.
He's
You're not
gotten up
feeling well.
10 times for every little
Not feeling
detail of
well.
like, I'm thirsty. I'm this. He just dropped a piece of wood. Um, Parenting is difficult.
It is. It's a hard. What?
Your microphone.
Oh, what? It was good.
That was far. Maybe.
Yeah, it is. And you need support. You need people around you. Um, the other thing that a friend of mine mentioned that she does, and I thought this was funny, is that she'll call out bad behavior in front of her kid, like in her family. So she'll be like, "That's bad behavior," and I think that's funny because like there's our family. You can't always control who's around, right? But you can tell people if they're coming into your house and they're bringing a certain energy or a
Mm.
certain
Oh,
behavior
she's
that,
calling out other
yeah,
people?
yeah,
Oh, not her
in
kids.
front, no, in front, yeah, other people's behavior in front of, to her kids and
Yeah.
telling them that's bad behavior.
Yeah.
But it's like in the family, like, and I think honestly, that's a good thing to have because in your house you're not going to allow certain things.
Yeah,
And
this
so
is your
if
home.
people are bringing that into your house, that's your family.
No, this is our domain.
Right. You're
We
like
set the parameters,
you
we set
have
the
to
boundaries.
tell them like it is. Like, hey,
You scared me.
don't
I don't know. You just looked over there and you're
don't do
like you
that
saw a face or
around,
something.
or don't do that in my house. We don't do that in our house. And I think that's important to be bold about that too,
Values. Values.
especially in your house, because that is your house, that
Yeah.
is your palace of peace. And if
Values.
other family members are coming in and bringing negativity, saying, you know, whatever it is that's not helpful to the environment of your house, to your kids' peace,
Yeah.
you have to call it out.
You have to call it out, and at the end of the day, it's God, your wife, then your kids, and then your extended family.
Right.
Like this becomes
And people have to change.
like in Genesis, it talks about what a man is to leave his birth family
Mhm.
and join his wife, and that becomes his priority. That
Mhm.
becomes his family. And so if if whomever comes into your home and tries to divide your home and doesn't value what it is you value, like these are the things that my house is built on. And
Mhm.
if you're coming into it and you're trying to maybe not you're inadvertently doing something that you can have a conversation, but if it continues, you have to protect your house. You have to protect your palace because you can't allow stuff to come into your home because
Mhm.
again, the devil just looks for a foothold
Yeah.
because he's like, all right, this person came in, they planted this little seed. Let me take that little seed and let me you know water it and let me see
Mhm.
how it can grow. And like that foothold turns into like then division amongst us.
Mhm.
And if we're divided, right?
Mhm.
Then it's just like it's a trickle down effect. So like
Yeah,
we have to
that's
be so mindful of who comes through the door, what comes through the door,
yeah.
what comes through the TV, what comes through the radio. Like
But
this is
that
gonna sound weird, but like serenade your house with just like worship.
yeah, but that's also why it's important to be in communication with each other because you have to be in agreement of what you'll accept and what you won't accept, right, for your kids. Why you smile?
I was just thinking when Nehemiah scared us the other night.
Oh my gosh, that's why I got the scratch on my chin. um, but you just have to be in agreement because there they'll come tests from every part.
Oh, and the
And
Bible.
if you're not, no, but I'm talking about even family members that will intervene with something about your child that you don't want. And then you both have to be in agreement with this because if you're saying something, then your spouse saying something else, that's going to cause division in your home.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that's the other piece of parenthood that's really important. That's why this is first.
Yeah.
Because if this is not
Second,
strong, well, first in the sense of like the
before
family,
kids.
obviously God is first, but
Yeah,
this is the what comes next. This relationship comes next
yeah,
because this is the base of your family. This is what holds your family
yeah.
together.
And I heard it put really eloquently, maybe not eloquently, but profoundly recently. If if this and he was this guy was speaking specifically on husbands and fathers. If you don't feel, and I'll translate it into parenthood. If you don't feel the pressure,
Mm,
you're not doing something.
mm. Well, there it is.
There it is. There's your stomach. Sounds like a waterbed when you jump on it.
Okay, wasn't that much.
Oh man, but yeah, if you're not feeling the pressure of parenthood, if you're not feeling the pressure of being a man in this world, a woman in this world, you're doing something wrong because you
Mm,
need you to feel that pressure means that yeah, you have that weight on your back
mm.
and that you have to carry it, and God's not gonna give you any more than you can't carry. But we have to remember that He sustains us.
But yeah, exactly. Because it's not to say that you're living with that pressure.
No,
Because you can live a peaceful life. You have pressure, but the pressure doesn't overrule
yeah,
your peace. It doesn't overrule your joy, your way of living, because you're all of that is on God, right?
it's a pressure. It's a responsibility of stewardship.
Mm-hmm.
And when you steward something well, when you take care of something well, there comes times where it feels like weight,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're just taking care of something that doesn't have any value, then who cares? You're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
care about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it has value, it's gonna feel like pressure. Gets it's like, oh no, I gotta protect that. I gotta make sure that I'm prepared for it. I gotta make sure that I'm better for that. And so it's a pressure of stretching you, not a pressure of crushing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was good.
So good.
Anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. What?
That was a good one. I like that one. What should we call it? Thumbnail it.
I don't know.
Watch it. Make sure you follow us, like, subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, mom.
Bye, mom. Bye, mom.